Hey, what's up, guys? I wanted to just push on a little bit farther, a little bit deeper with you, the nine wing one, and a little exercise, a little metaphor that I think will help further clarify to you the challenge that the nine wing one has. Before we get started, I just want to welcome you to my channel. My name is Dr. Tom LaHue. I'm coming to you from my home, not from my office, because when the impulse strikes to record a video and share information, sometimes I just go with it. If I think it's going to be helpful, then I don't want to just hang on to it. I want to share it with you guys. In the description below, you can check out my website. The information is there for coaching appointments or any way I can help encourage you. I want to come alongside of you in life and help you. All right, so let's talk about an illustration that kind of came out of one of my coaching appointments with somebody, and I think it will help you guys that are 9-1s, or those of you who love a 9-wing one. It might illustrate the compulsion or the impulse that the 9 has that sometimes they're blind to, sometimes they don't see in themselves. Okay, so imagine that you're sitting down at a table to dinner and you've got 9 different seats, 9 different plates, okay? And there's all these items to choose from at this dinner. All kinds of food. There's vegetables and fruits, and there's meats and desserts and cheese and breads, and all these different items are on the table, and there's 9 different seats, okay? And so the 1 sits down, the 2, the 3, the 4, all the way around, and the 9 takes his or her seat at the top of the table. Every one of these types is impulsed toward something, impulsed away from something. And it's as if they start operating out of those impulses without any thought, okay? They're just impulsed in a direction. So, for example, the 1 is impulsed to be a good person, to be a responsible person, to organize and clean up and take care of things and to do the right thing. And sometimes that impulse can work against them. Often it works for them, but sometimes that impulse can work against them, and they can leave a trail of battered people behind, tears and upset teenagers and all kinds of, where they're trying to be good and they're trying to manage things and they're trying to be a good manager. They can leave behind a trail of, residual damage, because their impulses can be so demanding at times that people get frustrated with them. Okay, a 2 has an impulse to be a rescuer, to be a pleaser, to be a caregiver. And 80% of the time that impulse works for their advantage. But then there's 20% of the time that impulse doesn't work for their advantage. Like when they pick up the homeless guy and put him in the car, and now you have somebody you don't know that you don't trust riding with you around town in your car. The impulse to be of service and to be of help may not have been the best to act on at that point, okay? Or maybe you got yourself signed up in so many charitable activities that you're exhausting yourself and exhausting your family in the process. That impulse toward 2-ness can sometimes come with some negativity. 3, same thing. The impulse to achieve and to accomplish and to stay up and work hard, and the drive and determination, 80% of the time works for your advantage. 20% of the time or 30% of the time, when you won't go to your own child's baseball game because there's work to be done, and if you're going to, you got to make sacrifices, and so you're making a sacrifice by missing your kids' lives. So that impulse can work against you. And I think we could go around the table and we could point this out for every type. But the video is about 9s, okay? So let's keep it about 9s. All right, so imagine each one of these people shows up at this table and they start pounding their fist and demanding what their impulse tells them to demand. And so the 1 says, I want cheese. And the 9 looks at him and says, well, don't you want some vegetables? And so, I don't want vegetables, I want cheese. I want cheese. Okay, so the 1 takes all the cheese, puts it on their plate, and they just sit there and eat all the cheese, consuming cheese. That's it. The 2 says, I want bread. I want bread. The 9 looks at this and says, are you sure you don't want some vegetables and some meat and some... I want bread. I want bread. Okay, so the impulse of the 2 is to only eat bread, and the impulse of the 1 is to only eat cheese. You get down to the 3, and I only want meat. I only want meat. The 4, I only want dessert. The 5, I only want vegetables. I only want vegetables. Goes around the table, and everybody is acting out of their impulse, trying to get their needs met, trying to orient their life around that impulse and to have that impulse met, whether it's to organize and clean up things, to rescue and please and care give, or achieve and succeed, or to be authentic and different and special, or to master the information and to be adequate and to be prepared, or to plan ahead and to be vigilant and like a 6, or to be enthusiastic and outgoing and fun and energized like a 7, or protector and defender and conqueror like an 8. And everybody's acting out of their impulse, and the 1 only wants to eat cheese, and the 2 only wants to eat bread, and the 3 only wants to eat meat, and the 4 only wants to, and the 9 is watching this dinner and saying, man, these people, they are insane. Why do they only want to eat cheese? Why would you not want to eat all of this? Can't you see other people's perspectives? Can't you as a 1 see the value in eating some bread and eating some meat and eating some vegetables and eating some? And the 9 is talking to deaf people because they don't see the value in that. They don't see the value in a balanced diet. They only see the value in what their impulses tell them. For the 7, that's the next adventure. For the 8, that's protecting your environment. For the 6, that's being secure and being safe and being protected, and all the way around. They only see in their unhealth. Now, if they're healthy, maybe they try, to see things from a broader perspective, but they only see the dinner through the eyes of that impulse. I want cheese. I like cheese. I'm going to only eat cheese. And the 9's looking at this like, man, you're missing out on all these other foods. Your perspective is so limited that you'll only eat fruit, you'll only eat vegetables, you'll only eat meat, you'll only eat bread. This is so limited. Don't you guys see a whole bunch of food here? Why would you restrict yourself to just one thing? Why can't you appreciate each other's point of view? And the 9 is right in all that, is dead on right in all that. We need to get outside of our personalities and try to see each other's perspective and try to understand why each other does what each other does. So the 9 is exactly right in that. But then here's what the 9 does. Gets up from the table and doesn't eat anything. That's the impulse of the 9, is they can see that everything on this table in balance would be good and sustain life, but they have no hunger themselves. They have no drive themselves to consume and eat anything themselves. The passion of the 9 is to not have these passions, to not be driven to eat only cheese or driven to eat only bread or driven to eat only. The passion of the 9 is to passively push back away from the table and say, well, I'm not really hungry. I'm not really hungry. So I don't guess I need to engage in this dinner. And the 9 might not be clear as to their own problem, their own passion, where this one only wants cheese, only wants bread, and they can see how ridiculous that is, but then they miss their own problem, and their own passion is, I'm not even hungry. I don't even care if I eat. What's the difference if I eat? So what if I eat? So what if I don't eat? Doesn't matter to me if I eat. And so the passion of the 9 is to be completely disengaged during the dinner itself. And they've got to resist that impulse. Just like the cheese eater has to resist the impulse of only eating cheese and needs to sample some of the other items on that table, the 9 has to resist the impulse to be disengaged from the entire dinner, and then in their mind say, I must engage in this meal. I must engage in this life. I must make myself eat. I must Even though I don't necessarily sense the hunger, sense the passion, sense the drive, I need to engage for my ultimate life's benefit and for the life benefit of all the people around me. I hope that this illustration has been helpful for you. I hope it's been encouraging to you. I hope it's been challenging to you to see yourself in maybe a different light, or to see the people that you love in a different light, so that we can all have more compassion on each other, so that we can all appreciate each other's challenges and appreciate each other's, what we all have to overcome in order to be engaged in this life. And that's really what it is for the 9, is they've got to resist. They say, I wish I had the hunger of the 3. I wish I had the hunger of the 4. I wish I had the hunger of the 7. I wish I had that drive and that passion, that determination. Well, your drive and your passion and your determination, is toward being passive. And just like every one of them needs to at times resist that drive when it's not in their best interest, you're going to have to resist your passion to be passive and to engage in your higher will and overcome that drive, at least in the temporary, to say, I must do this, even though I would like to be passive. It's not in my best life's interest to always not have an opinion, or to always not care, or to always be okay with whatever. So I must engage myself into this job, into this school assignment, into this career, into this family and relationship. I must engage myself because my hunger is to be passive and to get up from the meal. And I'm not going to come to the meal again and fail to take part. I'm going to engage myself in this meal. Blessings, guys. I wish you the best. Be present to life.